Something massive is happening in the heart of Canada. Alberta just signed a 10 billion pipeline deal that no one saw coming, and the world is reeling. Economists are stunned, Mark Carney speechless. Isn't just another oil deal, this is a geopolitical earthquake, and we are about to break down exactly what this means for Alberta, Canada, and global markets. Grab your coffee. By the end of this video, you will understand why this single agreement could reshape North America's energy future. The shocking announcement. On Tuesday morning, while most of the world was focused on inflation and interest rates, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith walked into a press conference with oil executives by her side and dropped a bombshell. We are proud to announce a historic 10 billion partnership that will bring the largest energy corridor in Canadian history to life. This isn't speculation. This isn't talk. The contracts have been signed, the funding is secured, and construction is scheduled to begin within 90 days. The deal includes trans-provincial cooperation, support from major private investors across the US and Asia, and a green light from Ottawa that stunned even Alberta insiders. What the deal actually includes. So what exactly is in this deal? A 1,200-kilometer pipeline running from Alberta's oil sands through Saskatchewan to a new export terminal near Hudson Bay. Massive investments in dual infrastructure, liquefied natural gas, LNG, and synthetic crude. A projected 3 lakh direct and indirect jobs over the next 5 years. Built-in environmental safeguards, including carbon capture hubs and indigenous-led conservation zones. And here's the kicker. A major South Korean energy consortium is involved, meaning this isn't just North American money. This is global capital betting big on Alberta's future. Mark Carney's reaction and why it matters. Shortly after the announcement, former Bank of Canada Governor and international climate finance leader Mark Carney was asked for comment during a panel in Geneva. His response, frankly, I didn't expect that. That's it, no elaboration, just shock. Why is this significant?
Silence speaks volumes. The global ripple effect why the world is watching oil futures spiked 4% overnight after the announcement. China, Japan, and Germany, all of whom are facing energy security concerns, are reportedly requesting diplomatic meetings with Ottawa to better understand what's coming. Meanwhile, environmental groups across Europe are calling this a climate setback, even as Alberta claims this project will have lower net emissions than existing pipelines. Their concern is understandable. In an age where net zero commitments are etched into international accords and green energy dominates political discourse, any major fossil fuel project is met with immediate resistance, especially one this big and this symbolic. Yet what's unfolding beneath the headlines is more complex and potentially game-changing. Because here's what's not being said out loud. The US may now be dependent on Canada for over 40% of its refined oil needs. Alberta's position on the global energy chessboard just advanced rapidly. And nations that once viewed Canada's oil sector as too risky, too dirty, or too controversial are now lining up at the negotiation table. This isn't just another pipeline. This is a recalibration of energy geopolitics in real time. Alberta's strategic play, genius, or gamble. Let's not sugarcoat it. Alberta has faced an uphill battle for years. The province, known for its vast oil sands, was once the economic crown jewel of Canada. But a combination of global oil price collapses in the 2010s, fierce regulatory scrutiny, and climate advocacy pressure pushed Alberta into a corner. Investment dried up, projects stalled, layoffs saw. Many outsiders, it looked like Alberta was headed for permanent decline, stuck between outdated oil dreams and a renewable future it wasn't ready for. But this deal, this $10 billion infrastructure project, may be Alberta's boldest move yet. Not only does it reassert Alberta as a powerhouse in North America's energy conversation, it also sends a message. We're not just oil. We're infrastructure. We're diplomacy. We're innovation. The pipeline in question, what makes it so different? Let's talk specifics. Unlike older projects, this pipeline incorporates carbon capture and storage CCS technologies from day one. It promises a 28% reduction in life cycle emissions compared to legacy pipelines, and it's been developed in coordination with indigenous communities. who are not just consulted, they are equity stakeholders. That's not window dressing. More than 11 First Nations across the corridor are share owners, meaning they benefit financially, politically, and environmentally. In short, this is not the 1990s model of development. Add to that the digital monitoring systems embedded in the pipeline, sensors, leak detection, real-time satellite tracking, and you begin to see why Alberta is calling this the next generation of energy delivery. It's not just about oil. It's about how oil is extracted, moved, and accounted for in a decarbonizing world. The American angle, why Washington is quietly relieved as a side of the story that isn't getting enough attention. The US desperately needs this pipeline dot in recent years. American refiners, especially those in the Midwest and Gulf Coast, have faced declining domestic output. Aging shale wells in the Permian Basin and increasing environmental restrictions have slowed production. And while the US remains a net energy exporter, its refining sector is still heavily dependent on stable, high-quality imports, especially from friendly sources. Into Alberta, the US already imports more oil from Canada than any other country. But with this pipeline, those imports become more secure, no shipping lanes, no Middle East dependencies, more cost-efficient, lower transportation costs, more politically acceptable from an allied democracy. Alberta is not pretending to abandon oil overnight. Instead, it's presenting a transition model, one where existing resources are optimized, communities are empowered, and technologies are upgraded. Domestic fallout. Trudeau's dilemma. Federal politics in Canada just got more complicated. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, long a champion of climate action, now finds himself in a bind. He must balance his government's net zero pledges, Western Canada's economic revival, national unity, as Quebec and Alberta once again pull in opposite directions. His $10 billion investment isn't just symbolic, it's catalytic. Here's what's already happening in Alberta. Construction hiring is up 14% year-over-year. Engineering firms in Calgary report surging demand. Provincial tax revenues are forecasted to grow by $3.4 billion over the next 5 years. This model, called economic reconciliation, is being hailed as a template for future resource projects. It doesn't erase past injustices, but it begins a new chapter, one of partnership, not paternalism. What comes next? Now comes the real test. Construction begins later this year. Legal challenges from environmental groups are expected. International observers will scrutinize emissions data, and political pressure will mount, especially as global climate deadlines approach. But Alberta is betting big, and not just on oil. They're betting on themselves. They're betting that in a chaotic, energy-hungry world, pragmatism will win over purity, that innovation can coexist with extraction, and that a province once seen as an energy relic can now be seen as a strategic energy hub. So, what happens now? The groundwork begins. The protests will follow. But one thing is clear. Alberta just changed the game. This $10 billion pipeline deal isn't just about energy. It's about leverage. It's about identity. And it's about survival in a world that's rewriting the energy rulebook.